Hi, everybody. How we doing? Thank you for joining me. My name is John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKO Works and pluginbusiness.com and .net. Still haven't decided which way I'm going to go with that. Right now it's just .net, and the site is looking very good. But and actually, some of the impetus behind that site we're going to talk about today. This is actually one of the most exciting things that I like to talk about, because in the past 9 months, let's just say, I have discovered truly the power of this and how it's different and how it can truly change your business life. And it seems other people are too. There's others that are doing this. They're forming. So we're talking about alliances, joint ventures, and I'm going to add in collaborations. That's kind of a newer one, and it's taking some shape, and it has some distinct advantages that a traditional alliance or joint venture does not. And so it's starting to have its place right now, as everybody's sort of trying to figure their way around this stuff. Hang on just a second. There we go. I wasn't sharing for some reason. I'm not really sure what happened there. Okay, but alliances, joint ventures, and collaborations. Collaborations are starting to have they're starting to find their place, because they can provide some benefits that others can't. They can do something. You can do some things with a joint venture that are different, but you can really do some things with a collaboration. Okay, so it's and I have been the beneficiary. I've been participating in that. It has made my business more than the sum of its parts. And for those of you who have not discovered yet, it will make your business more than the sum of its parts. So, sorry, let me get something on my eye there. All right, let's roll into this, because this is, like I said, this is exciting for me. And so I hope to impart the value of it to you, because I think at some point your business is going to hit a place where you're tapped out. Maybe you're having success. Maybe you're serving your customers the way that you want. Maybe you're finding your customers the way that you want. And there are no gaps. And if that is the case, that's wonderful for you. But if it's not, if you look at your entire business process and say, you know what, things are not where I need them to be. I'm not closing the sales that I need. I'm not attracting the customers that I need. I'd really like to provide this service. I know my market. I know my people need it out here. They tell me all the time they wished I did this, and I just can't. I don't know how. I don't have a clue. That's where these things come in. That's where all of this can happen. In fact, some of what you're getting today and you've been getting the past several weeks is the result of an alliance. So it's wisdom that has been out there and had been shared, but then I get to add my own spin of 20 plus years in business ownership to it. So I hope that's all beneficial to you. So tongue don't fail me now, right? Okay, let's get into this then. So what we're going to talk about today is the differences: alliance versus joint ventures versus collaborations. What are they? What are the pros and cons? How should you know whether or not to pick one or the other, or if they're even right for you in the first place? And we're going to talk about how to find them. Equally important, we're going to talk about how to manage them and how to keep them going. There is responsibility involved. And that's a good thing. It should be that way. And so before you jump into these, you need to be just as aware that there is responsibility that will fall on your shoulders in order to get the benefit that you're looking for. And then at the end, we're just going to have some final thoughts. Maybe we'll toss around a few examples. If you guys have some examples as they come along, why don't you put them in the comments wherever you're watching this, and say which one they are. So you might want to kind of go through a little bit here, and we can talk about some of those examples at the end. And then I will do my best, if anybody has any questions about them, and sort of about the experience, then I'll be happy to share and jump that in. So, all right, let's talk first about alliances. And for those of you who may be familiar, you probably know the alliance I'm referring to on the right-hand side of the screen. Yes, that would be the Rebel Alliance from Star Wars. But my Trekker is not going to leave you out either. They're not in this picture represented here, but I would say something like the Klingons and the Federation, or later the Romulans and the Vulcans. They kind of get into alliances of a sort. So, I mean, it's the alliances have been around a long time. Alliances have a good place. The definitions I found, just trying to put a fine piece on it, said between two companies. There's even such a thing as a strategic alliance. Okay. There's alliances for alliance's sake. There's strategic alliances that are for specific purposes. But I think a better example would be let's just get into the definition here. So an alliance is an arrangement between companies. Multiple, could be 2, could be 20, could be a bunch. That's mutually beneficial to everybody. That's the key, is it's got to be mutually beneficial. Okay. It does span multiple companies. It must be, it's managed by an entity that is, project team, for one of a better term, that keeps track of it all and makes sure everything is good and they're representatives of everybody in that project, in that project group. That are representatives of all the people involved. So, all right. So, and I know I'm just reading this, but each company benefits. Everybody should benefit from an alliance. That's why you join an alliance. An alliance is bigger than the sum of its parts. And so that's why people can and do, join these from time to time. Okay. So, all right, your pros. It promotes the success of everybody. It usually lasts a very, very long time, or can last a very long time, and they can always change. They can be configured, but they last a long time. All right, cons. So you reserve. It's usually for larger organizations. All right, and then the larger the alliance, the more unruly it can become sometimes. Let's ask the Southeastern Conference, SEC, how that's going to go. From the NCAA. All right. So yeah, which brings that up as a pretty good example. The NCAA is an alliance of colleges for the promotion of sports. So, I mean, it's been reconfigured, it's been shuffled around, it's all these different things have happened. But at the same time, it is also, it survives in some form or another, and it's bigger than the sum of its parts. Okay. All right, joint ventures. This is the business school definition, the more common the business school definitions here. So it's two companies that come together for a single purpose, basically. And this could be for a product or service, but more commonly, it's to form a third entity that neither one of them, for whatever reason, can do by themselves. Sometimes joint ventures are more than two companies. That does happen. And I'll have a good example of that here coming up later when we start talking about examples. But one of them I'm going to reference does involve two companies, and that is the Saturn car line. It was a joint venture between General Motors and, I believe, Toyota back in the day, back in the 90s mostly. And they lasted some into the 2000s. But it was a different concept. The cars were almost, I don't want to say cookie cutter, but they were sort of put together, and they had a very specific way of doing it. There wasn't any customization. All the parts were the same. Everything was the same. There was no haggling on the price. It was what it was. And so they used that to try a different concept. And so of buying a car, some of which of the Saturn car brand is really not around anymore, but I think it finally closed up in the 20 teens sometime. But some of the concepts are, the no haggle pricing, the different stuff like that. I mean, the different companies have adopted some of those things. The way that they produce them and put together the parts, and how everything was very interchangeable amongst that is certainly around. So the joint ventures are usually result in a some sort of third entity between everybody. That's sort of freestanding on its own. Okay, it is it's specifically contract. Well, I'm trying to figure out what I put here. It's contractual by nature. You have to have an agreement in place to put this together. That's the only way this makes sense, because this thing is financially basically independent. This thing is it stands on its own. It has to stand somewhat on its own. It's getting contribution from its parent companies, excuse me, but it has to stand on its own, at times. Okay. So I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything else. Yeah, it's financially independent. Typically lasts for the life of the entity, whatever that entity is. Saturn was around for 15 or 20 years. It's now gone. But it's not there. So let's see the pros. A success or failure. Let's see. Success or failure doesn't wreck the companies involved. It just doesn't. And that's okay. Success. That's a pro, because if you're going to try this for concepts and it doesn't work, the success or failure isn't going to kill it. Okay. Whether it does or not. So that's why this gets used a lot to try different concepts. Okay. Let's see if I missed something else here. So it's good for experimentation. It's good for trying something new. All right. The cons, it's heavily contractual, and that's not a bad thing necessarily. But it is, you really have to have some things in place. If you're going to try something experimental, what if it doesn't work? If you're going to try something that is, I don't know, that's very different, what if that doesn't work? So yeah, and then another is it's difficult to manage when things go wrong. Okay. It's difficult to extricate yourself. As a company, it is difficult to make everything, kind of work out. It is just, it's going to end badly if it ends, unless you specifically manage it down. This has run its life cycle and we're done with it. And that is okay. We'll talk about the life cycle here in just a little bit. But that is an important part of all this, is that these things do have a life cycle. They will change. It's just a matter of managing that change and what happens when they do. Okay. So now let's talk about the coolest new kid on the block, and that is the collaboration. Very similar in many ways to a joint venture. It's very, very similar, but there are some key differences in that it's much less formal. Okay. So a collaboration, working together regardless of size, and that's business size, working together regardless of size on a given project. Okay, so everybody comes together for this. You can scale this very easily. Scale it up, scale it down. This is a coming together. It's less formal. You should have some written agreement. Both sides should benefit. Both sides should contribute nearly equally to this. Okay, we'll get into that in the pros and cons in just a second, but everybody does benefit. It's usually short-lived. Okay, so the pros are, it's very easy to set up and take down. If you have a specific need that's, let's say you're good at bringing people in the door, but you are not a good sales closer. You cannot close them. You're not good at it. You've proven you're not good at it, but you've got a great product that people want. If only somebody would come along and close them. Well, here comes a collaboration. Excuse me. You bring in a sales closer to make that happen for you. And so then they close everything up for you, and everybody, and you've got the thing in place as to how they get compensated for doing that. You have an agreement in place, And so once that's done, everything is good. Everything works out well. All right. So that's a pro. It's very easy to set up and take down. Okay. There should be some, while an agreement is in place, should be in place, it's less formal. Okay. You should have something in place. You should have something that explains everybody's expected contribution, everybody's expected benefit out of it, what they should get out of it, but what they have to put in as well. But it does, and that should be in writing. That should not be a understood. I mean, yes, it can be a handshake. In the virtual world, that's a little tough now, but it's still no less valuable. But you should also understand, everybody. There should be something in writing, but it doesn't have to freeze you up and prevent you from doing these sorts of things. It could be a one pager, and that's just fine, as long as everybody's happy with it. And so this is not something that's hugely legally binding like a joint venture over here, say, would be. This is more legally binding. This is more, you're setting up another entity that you have to manage. And so the collaboration's not that way. And this is what makes them hugely cool and very, very popular, or they will be very popular once people figure out the value of them. Okay, so they're very easy to scale. And while that's okay, we're at the cons here. Sorry. Requires both sides to really take part. It requires requires both sides to really contribute equally, or contribute their part that they're supposed to contribute. It's not a true balance between companies, but it's a balance for the service that you're setting up the collaboration for. So if I can't do sales very well, I have to put everything in place to support you to come in and do my sales. I'm not going to send in clients always that'll waste your time and just won't buy no matter what you do. No matter how you try to close them. And so that ends up being frustrating. I'm not doing my job in that, even though it's not the main reason that this collaboration exists. By the same token, you as the salesperson have to perform. If you're brought in as a sales closer, you have to do what you're supposed to do. You have to, you got to close the sales. If they, one or two are always going to slip away. Not everybody's going to buy everything all the time. They're just not. That's unrealistic. But a whole lot more of them should buy than should not buy. And if not, there's a problem. Either you're the wrong fit or the product is the wrong fit. And you're going to have to figure that out, which leads me to the last con. If things go wrong, you don't have any recourse, really. Because it's such a low-key agreement, that's sort of the downside of it. Is at the least it could end up in hurt feelings, and in the most it could end up in some financial loss. And then there's not a lot of area to stand on because you didn't formalize it as a joint venture. And I don't want to discourage that for a minute. You just have to be. This is where the management of this comes into play. You have to be able to police it all along the way. Both sides, or everybody involved in the it has to be able to police it along the way and say, you know what, this isn't working. This is not going to happen. This is not cool. So, there's good and bad in all three of these, and they all have their place. But taken together, they can all do wonders for your business. The right one at the right time in the right situation, solving the right problem for you, or making the right connection for you, can make a huge difference. Okay. All right. So, as my cat's going crazy in the other room, she never met a closed door she didn't want to be on the other side of. All right. So, how to start and find these things. Okay. Let's talk about that. First, decide if this whole thing is right for you. Just look at your entire process of your business. And I don't just mean sales. I mean other things too. Are there gaps there you're not filling? Are there gaps that truly need to be filled? Not every one of them does. Or could you elevate somebody in your business to do that thing that you need done that maybe they're not there right now? That's a big deal. That's the big first step in all of this. Before you go jumping off into these situations, decide if this is even right for you. Decide if this is something you even want. And then if it is, let's decide which one of those three situations would be the best fit. If you're looking for something from the shared group, perhaps it's leads, perhaps it is or prospects, perhaps it is overall expertise and systems, then an alliance would be a good idea to go get involved in. That's your business groups. I mean, we'll talk about the different ones here in just a moment, and you'll see how this all works together. But it's depending on what you're looking for. There's different prospecting ways of looking for that. Do you want something to really establish another product or service, or whether or not it takes on the brand of a company, which it usually will? Then a joint venture, but you want the surety, that everybody's contributing what they're supposed to contribute, and some formality to it. Then a joint venture is for you, and it has its place. It has its stability. If you're looking for just something that's a quick hit situation, or to solve a problem, and you're not as big on big legal contractual things, then consider a collaboration. Any one of these could solve a problem that you may have at the time. Be there at the time you need it, when you need it. Okay, so let's talk about how to find these. Number one, referrals. Look at or it's not really number one, but the first place you can look at is referrals and your networks. Who do you know that's either looking for opportunities or has opportunities to share and is out there actively promoting them, or talking to, friends of friends? How many of us have been talking to a friend and needed a problem solved, and you were talking to that person and they said, you know what, I know somebody. Let me see if I can get you guys together. That's a referral. But it's a referral on the end. It's not just a referral for customers. It's a referral on the end to connect people to solve a problem in any number of ways. Either, maybe it's, I'll get you connected to this group over here that will get you some more leads, BNI or whatever. That's an alliance of people, though it's run by one organization. It's an alliance of people that are looking for certain opportunities. So maybe I get you into that. Maybe it's it's somebody that provides. It's a group that provides specific resources, say around a medical situation. You get connected with you're a small organization with some things to offer in unique situations, but you sort of need help. You need some deeper pockets. You need some access to things that you lack. Well, maybe we can get you connected with a national organization that is doing what you do, and they can bolster you into something larger. Okay, so yeah, there's that opportunity, but that's in your network. That's the people that is the circle of influence, as they say, or sphere of influence, depending on which one you go with. It's the people who are out there that could be within your orbit that know somebody who can help solve your problem. This is one of the reasons why networking is important. And full disclosure, I don't do it well enough as I should, but we all should. We all should maintain and make time to increase that network, because it can result in solutions like this that may help solve your problem. Now, it may be a referral to the brother-in-law who is a lot of talk and no action, but hopefully you can vet that pretty quickly, and keep that from turning into something it shouldn't. Okay, so where's another place you can look? How about connected groups? Speaking of BNI, there are many. And I make the distinction here, and just that we talk about social media below that. So I'm just going to put these together in a sense, because the connected groups are your church, your workplace, your your car club, your different things that you're involved with, your kids sporting league or swim team or the theater group or whatever. These are groups that you're connected to, something you enjoy doing. Maybe you play. I know people that play in adult soccer leagues. They just do it for the fun of it. And so then you stay connected to people. That's a great way to do this, and it's a great way to, because you end up talking. Everybody does, and it's natural conversation, particularly among men, but not exclusively. To say, where is a place? Does somebody in my group have this? They heard about this in these different groups that I'm a part of. Even if I'm not an active, maybe I'm just a part of a small group at church. I'm not really leading anything. I'm just part of it. Maybe somebody knows something about something that can help you solve that problem. But then there are, the reason the social media is there is, yes, you can use social media to reach out and to look for people that are actively saying, you know what, do you need a sales closer? I'm the person who can solve your sales closing needs to help solve that problem. But also there are untold numbers of Facebook groups out there that can meet you where you are. I'm a member of several. You all are probably members of several. This is being shown in a couple of them. So, I mean, there's a group for everything. If you're looking for, jobs, there's job boards out there all over Facebook where you can find whatever it is you're looking for. If you're looking for like communities, say small business people, or, centered around Go High Level, or or whatever thing you want to do, there is probably a Facebook group for it. LinkedIn, that's an opportunity lost, guys. It really is. Can't say it enough because I'm disappointed about it. And as big on connections as LinkedIn is, you think they would be all over groups, but they just haven't done it well. Facebook is killing you on it. So, but there is a group for everything. And that's a good thing, because then that connects you to people all over the country and truly all over the world, who share what it is that either you're passionate about, or you're looking for help with, or you're looking for whatever. I would hope you guys come to the Boost Success to 50K and Beyond group because you're looking to do just that. You're looking for things that are marketing, but beyond marketing, to boost your business, to really get it to a revenue level that you may or may not have ever seen before, and to know that it's possible. So that's why I hope you come to mine. The Atlas Agency Launch Lab, which is where we are also, is very much for digital marketing folks, specifically, who are looking for better ways of prospecting, better ways of sales, and then once it gets going, better ways of managing and keeping those clients you get. So there's stuff for everything. There are untold job boards. There's a Facebook group called You Need a Website. It's called I Need a Website, You Build a Website, something like that. You can search for it. It's the coolest thing ever. You get in there and it's people looking for websites, because that's the way they set up the name, and that's the way it works. I've mentioned it before. But there are Facebook groups for any number of things, and it's a fantastic place to look. It's a great place to to sit and say, okay, these are these are, I don't know where I was going with that. They're great places to say, I need help with something, or I want to learn about something, or and you sort of make that happen, and you make that connection into something a little bit different. All right, places we can continue to look. Let's talk about now. We have done videos on this before, but the concept of vertical and horizontal marketing. This was revealed to me probably about a year ago, and it makes more sense than I can possibly have thought possible. So what does that mean? So vertical marketing is who is in your food chain. Vertical prospecting is who is in your food chain, who comes before you, who comes after you in the buying process. Okay. Who is the one who are the people that are before you that could send leads your way and send customers your way? And how can you repay that favor for them? How can you bring that, how can you send that back to incentivize them to keep doing that? Likewise, who comes after you in the buying process? People buy whatever it is that you have. Does that farm off anything? Does that spin off anything else? Where, you think of like say a general contractor, who all of his subs are people that he or she takes and curates and fosters those good connections with them, and make sure that those people are doing what they're supposed to do, and that they're providing really good service to his houses or his buildings or his structures that he's putting together. But likewise, both he could provide them leads of people, or they could provide there's if anybody else needs electrical work somewhere and he has friends or he has other projects, he can maybe send them over to those projects to get electrical work done or plumbing work done or whatever. And likewise, maybe these folks go outside and they're working for other people who need electrical work. But you know what? This project is bigger than just electrical stuff. They really do need a good general contractor, and this group is that I'm doing this project work for just isn't cutting it. So let me call my friend who's a general contractor, get him to come over and help out. So that's an example of who is in the food chain. So spend some time thinking about that. Who comes before you? Who comes after you? And then how can you make the important thing is, how can you make that relationship work for both of you? This is very much the collaboration side of things. Joint venture, yeah, could be, but this is very much the collaboration side. Each is missing something. Each brings benefit. You figure out how to put those together in a way that helps everybody in the food chain to survive and thrive, right? Okay, so let's talk about horizontal marketing and horizontal prospecting. This is where you get the alliances. This is where you get the joint ventures. These are the people who do what you do. These are the people, but maybe they do it in a different city. Maybe they're targeting a different group of folks, and they can't, for whatever reason, you have got the lock on yet another one, and of a group of people that they cannot reach. You're just exceedingly good at it. And so maybe you two figure out how to do work together as a joint venture. Okay. Maybe you figure out how to just have an alliance of like-minded, an alliance of chiropractors in a given city. You're not competing against each other. You don't step on each other's toes, but you collectively as a group can get resources and different things that help all of you without hurting any of you. So that's where horizontal marketing and horizontal prospecting can come in. You're not necessarily looking for customers at this stage. You'll get there, but you are looking to shore resources you don't have. This is investing in your business. This is connecting to your business in ways that leads and sales are awesome. They're why we do this. But eventually there are some things you're going to have help with. And if you don't have that help, it's going to be a problem. Okay. So let's talk about managing this whole thing. So you found your situation, you found the joint venture or the alliance that works for you. Now there's some things to keep in mind in managing this and maintaining that relationship and making sure that it's healthy. It takes on a bit of a life of its own, guys. It really does. And so you have to make sure that you don't get it into such a position, at least from your standpoint, as well as managing the group. It's group management 101. It's managing the group, however big that group is, whether it's 2 or whether it's 22 or 222, of keeping that healthy. Even if you're not the quote unquote leadership, you can do your part to make this happen. Okay. No matter what stage you find yourself. All right. So you got to be open to opportunities. That speaks to the flexibility of the situation. So you have people that, I mean, you've been going along for a little while, and a little different spin on the situation happens. A little bit different something or other happens. So you need to be open and flexible to that, and able to bring that to the joint venture or the collaboration or the group as a whole, and say, okay, here's some things that have changed. Here's something new that I've learned. Here's a different way of doing this. What do you guys think? How does this change our situation? Does it change our situation? Should we ignore it? But constantly be on the lookout for those opportunities, because there could be an opportunity to build that better mousetrap to keep doing what you're doing, and to have even better success, that somebody in the group brings to the table. And you should be willing to at least explore that. Or to be willing to say, okay, there's this that's going around. This is really not for us. Okay. Do you guys agree? Yes, you agree. Okay, no problem. But be open to those opportunities, because some of those could be opportunities lost. You never know. All right. So another thing is, evaluate the contributions of everybody, and the leadership and the contributions. And this is not sitting around looking for somebody to fail. Okay. If you have that, it's not going to work. If if you're sitting around waiting for something to fail, Murphy's Law says it's going to fail. All right. And I'm married to a Murphy. I should know. But I mean, it's and she gets mighty upset about that too. But you still should evaluate everybody's contribution. Make sure everybody's pulling their weight. Make sure everybody's putting into the situation that it's being fed properly. And yes, you should have a right to take things out, to take away from and benefit from the level of collaboration, joint venture, whatever. But make sure that the group stays healthy. Make sure that the relationship stays healthy. Make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, that they're pulling their weight, that they're having success, that the ideas that make things better are truly getting in there, and the ones that are just distractions are getting pushed off without a whole lot of, hurt feelings, that this is going to get away from the goals of what we're talking about. So constantly be evaluating that. This is probably, before I get to the next point, this is probably about the most important thing out of all this. And everybody should be doing it, not to look for ways to ding people, but just make sure it's healthy. Doesn't have to be bad. Just make sure everything is healthy, and you'll be much, much better off. Okay. So then we make sure, and to that end, promote an equal balance. Make sure the group stays in balance. Make sure the relationship stays in balance. Everybody's putting in, everybody's benefiting. If that starts to skew one way or the other, you're going to have problems. Sometimes for a short time, not a bad thing. Sometimes it's a necessary deal. But at some point, if it stays that way, out of balance for a long time, you're going to have problems, and the situation's going to fail, and it's not going to work, and it could get really ugly. So make sure part of what's above is making sure everything stays in balance. Then make sure everything is again, everybody's benefiting, but everybody is contributing too, and it's being led in a direction that promotes its health and wellness and happiness of the situation and of the group involved. Okay, so have written agreements. You can't do any of this without some form of a written agreement. You just can't. You shouldn't. You never should. I'm not telling you to do that. Always have something in writing. Now, the level of formality involved varies. A collaboration, not that formal, but it should be something. A pager will do that outlines everybody's expectations. And you say, well, I'm not a good writer. Okay, that's fine. Write out bullet points of what is expected of everybody, and how everybody will benefit, anybody that's involved, and everybody sign it at the bottom. Okay, you're done. That's an easy one if you're doing a collaboration. If you're doing a joint venture, or as the alliance, I'm sure has its own rules, or should. everything already set up, and you have to decide if you want to be a part of those or not. The joint venture definitely should. So I mean, there's lots of different things that can happen there, but it is that's a good easy way to do this. Have something in writing. Doesn't have to be formal if it's not meant to be. And you deal with everybody's comfort level on that. Before I go to the next point, you deal with everybody's comfort level on that, and it's different. Maybe people aren't big contract people, and even if they're not big contract people, you still should have a contract. You still should have something. If they're scared by that, then that could be a sign of trouble before it even starts, particularly on a collaboration. If they think if somebody comes, okay, this sounds like a great idea, let's do this, and they come back to you with this 20-page legal document in triplicate, that should tell you right away that they're going to be a problem, that they are they're waiting for this to fail. And they're going to be one of those people that when it does fail, they try to clean everybody else out, not in the spirit of doing a collaboration. Okay. And a bit questionable, frankly, on the joint venture side too. But you have to read that vibe from people. You have to say, okay, are they really looking for this to fail, and they're covering their assets in every way possible? To the point of like being fanatical about it. And if that's the case, is that somebody I really want to do business with? Probably not. But there's something to be said the other way too, is if they're far too lackadaisical for it in a place that shouldn't be lackadaisical. I mean, you gotta find that balance of the contractual agreement. But there should be some sort of agreement that's signed by everybody. The beauty of, again, the collaborations is that you can dismantle that very easily if you need to. All right. So, this is the last point, and I think this is probably about the most important point of all this. All these agreements, all these arrangements, all these everything have a life cycle. They have a time. How does it go biblically? There's a time for everything under heaven and earth. And this is very true. These two have a life cycle. They will get to a point where they will outlive their usefulness. They will get to a point where they, where things happen that it shouldn't. And it's just time for it to go away. It's time for the joint venture to close. The collaboration is just time to peel off and everybody go their separate ways with no harm done. Or the alliance becomes too large and unruly for itself, or people just quit participating and so it falls apart. Either way, these have a life cycle. These will be done, and that will be okay. So just know that before you venture on any of these things, any of these potentials for success. And there's a lot of potential for success here, particularly in a collaboration, but a joint venture and alliance too. You can take away a lot and benefit a lot from like I said, this will change your business forever to get involved with one of these. But also know that even for you, it has a life cycle. Maybe the business is doing, and maybe you join an alliance of different businesses or different companies or different organizations, and they're going along just fine. That alliance is perfectly healthy. But you reach a point that it's time for you to go in a different direction and say, you know what, this is where I started, but I'm not having the success I wanted. My company's not having the success that I think it needs. I'm wanting to do some things over here. I've taken all the benefit that I've needed from this. I've contributed what I need to contribute to it so I can feel good about it. It's time for me to walk away. So maybe the life cycle is within, but the life cycle does exist. Okay. It is there. It will, and where that is going to be different for every situation, for every company, for every organization, for every individual. Everyone's going to be different. And the thing I should put after that is it's okay. It's okay for things to run their course and end. We sometimes tend to hang on to stuff too long, and instead of breaking it off and parting mutually and being okay with that, when things run their course. It's just human nature, I guess, but it's okay. Everything has a life cycle, and it's okay. All right. Okay. Speaking of, let's talk about some just some fun examples. And if you have some examples, put them in the comments. I'll go look at them in just a minute, to see what's there and what's not there. If anything's there, there may not be anything there. All right. So top right is just a cool graphic that went along with this. Okay. So don't read anything into it. Bottom left, many of you may recognize as the Premier League. English Premier League is the technical term for it, because there's a Scottish Premier League and there's other Premier Leagues. But the English Premier League is it's the top of the tier, so to speak. It's the one that's watched the world over. Some people watch Italian, some people watch Bundesliga, some people watch all the others for soccer we're talking about. But the Premier League is the top of the top tier, and it has tiers under it, but that is an alliance. Okay. This is why that's there. These are different examples of the different aspects of it, although they're not clearly labeled. So bottom left there is the Premier League. There are other alliances. There's the National Football League. There's Major League Baseball starting up just very soon here. There is I mentioned the NCAA. And yes, there's different conferences under that, but they're all under the umbrella of the National Collegiate Athletic Association in the United States anyway, and that's the NCAA. So great examples of alliances, and they change. Of course, there's historical alliances and things, but most of this is strategic, and so everybody's benefiting off of it. All right, let's talk about joint ventures. And the one at the bottom right is cut off, but most of you may recognize it as the Hulu logo. And what I did not know about Hulu is when it first started, it actually was a joint venture. Yes, between ESPN and Disney and all that, but there was also NBC Universal was in there. There were others that were in there. Fox was in there. Everybody was now. That's all switched around, of course, because Disney bought Fox, and so they pretty much took it over, and NBC left and did their own thing. They now have their Peacock network, and we're all getting streaming fatigue from all of it, But there was a time when this first started, Hulu was intended to be the on-demand television, from these alliance of different broadcasters who were putting out material and feeding it, and then you could pay and you could see it like it was like the proverbial DVR, without having to worry about the storage. You could watch it, soon after the show streamed or it was broadcast live, usually the next day, or you could watch any of them on demand that you wanted to. So that was the idea, but that was a joint venture between multiple companies, not just two. So you hear the word joint, you think of two, but in this case, it was like 4 or 5. But still a joint venture nonetheless. And it created this entity called Hulu. Mentioned some other examples of joint ventures. There was the Saturn brand that was between GM and Toyota. There was also the Geo brand for GM, which was between either General Motors, excuse me, or Chevrolet. I don't remember which. And I believe Isuzu might have been, or Mitsubishi, one of the two. And they produced, lower end cars by design. That was the point, and they did it under the name Geo. And so they would, they'd have these different. I think Suzuki might have been in there because the Geo Tracker was kind of Suzuki Samurai-ish. But there were a handful of these car makers that teamed up with General Motors to make this happen, and so that's where the Geo line came from, and so a GEO. So I mean, there are several instances of joint ventures, and you can probably think of some. There's probably a lot more that you guys are aware of that I'm not aware of. So comment wherever you want and say which type it is. Is it an alliance? Is it a joint venture? Or is it a collaboration? like the top left, our friends up there. You all may or may not be aware, but there was a time, it's been this way. I don't know what they're doing with it now, but I can at least vouch for part of it because I was a part of this collaboration. That our friends at Atlas Agency Launch Lab, it is set up to be sort of a collaboration, bringing in different expertises, bringing in different things, certainly under one umbrella of some people named Kennerley. Zachary and Sheena-Leigh Kennerley brought their own expertises, but they also brought in several of us to be a part of that under this banner of the Atlas Agency Launch Lab. So that is a collaboration. There are other they're doing some more projects after that are also collaborations, as far as I know. But I mean, the Atlas Growth Navigator is a collaboration between them and Phil Ballier, who has his own situation going on. And all you guys are in the group. So hi, guys. I'm sure you're watching all this. But I don't know how that's set up. That's none of my business. But I suspect it's probably a collaboration. The plugin, so I don't just completely talk about them. The pluginbusiness.net is not going to look like it. But trust me, behind the scenes, it's a series of collaborations. For pulling in different services and having relationships with them. So the net result is that we will be able to provide all kinds of services to businesses, no matter what they're looking for. But behind the scenes, most of those are collaborations with the companies that are very good at providing those. We go and find the best practices and put them together. There is also another opportunity that's coming around, and I won't divulge too much of it because it's just in the beginning stages and I'm privy to it, but it's going to be exciting. And this is why, particularly about collaborations, alliances and joint ventures no doubt have their place, but collaborations are something that's really exciting for so many of us after the pandemic, who are looking for we know what we want to do. We know the opportunities we have. We know how we can get out there, but there are things that are gaps for us. Maybe it's sales. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe it's fulfillment. Maybe it's accounting and bookkeeping. Maybe it's any number of things. And so we need somebody to come in and fill that gap without hiring an employee. A collaboration is a fantastic way to do that. And so that's why I'm so excited about them. So the thing I was talking about is dealing with the aftermath of a certain medical condition, and supporting not only the survivors of it, but their families, because there are oftentimes survivors, and the families, and there's big bills that go along with that, be it from hospital stays or insurance or rehab or any number of things. And there's also companies that provide products and services around supporting that. So what I'm starting to see a lot now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that people are putting these things together that are collections of, I mean, you call it an alliance or a joint venture if you want, but they're really collections of collaborations that are brought together, less formal, but to serve a particular cause or purpose, or really put some. So what you end up with is, say, a website, particularly post-pandemic. You end up with a website that's just like Plug-in Business, where it's meeting particular needs, but it's pulling in all these resources from all these companies and all these places to do it right and to make that happen. So that kind of leads me into the sort of the final thoughts here. In that, I'm just trying to see if, yeah, okay, I didn't put anything crazy for the subtitle. That's what I was looking at. But final thoughts is all this. This is where I see this going. These are great opportunities. Consider the collaboration. Have a little bit of an agreement. Have something there. But consider the collaboration as a true opportunity for something more. Consider the collaboration as a way to enhance those parts of your business where you're weak. Consider collaborating with others and offering your expertise to those that need it. It's easy to set up, easy to scale, easy to take down if it doesn't work out. Easier. And you will get tremendous benefit from it, and broaden your network and broaden your horizon of people and broaden your work. I mean, there's so many benefits to collaborations that can be a huge deal. And I don't mean to sell alliances and joint ventures short. They have their place as well, and they're a big part of what we do. And they're a big part of what we promote here at JKO Works, because we talk about bringing in, how we get your business to at least show any business at least $50,000 in revenue in 50 minutes. But to make that happen, one of the things that we talk about is alliances and joint ventures. Who are you connected with? Who is making you more than the sum of your parts? Who is filling in gaps that you have? Or what organization or what company or what group or what individual? You bring in a freelancer to solve a problem. Fine, no problem. That's collaboration, y'all. So, I mean, it's a little more mutual than that, but it makes your business better than the sum of its parts, and therefore increases your revenue. And so that's why we're really excited about it. We talk about some of those things and more in some webinars that are upcoming, so be on the lookout for those. We have our Success Academy that teaches all this that we talk about and so much more. It's over a year's worth of training at your own pace. You'll come out feeling like you got, and you probably did, a virtual MBA. That's a Success Academy. And then if your business is at a certain point, $40,000 to $50,000 a month, we can show you at least that and more in revenue that you didn't know you had in one 50-minute session, then give you the entire roadmap to get there and offer to be your guide. See, I'm here with my hand up. Pick me on the way, as we take that step by step. We don't want to overwhelm you. We just want your business to grow and to thrive and to prosper. And as well as some nonprofit organizations too. That makes a big deal. So that's all I got. And I hope it was beneficial. I apologize. I was reading some of it because I put a lot of this together. I had to get it all out of my head. And that's a little harder to do sometimes. But I appreciate everybody working through it. Let's look just for fun to see if there is anything in the comments that and I'm happy to respond to those, and will. That's why I wanted you to put some of these put some of these comments in offline. So doesn't look like it, but that's cool. That's no problem. So you guys, actually, yeah, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing some. Oh, there are a bunch of people. Hey, I was clicking on the wrong thing. So if you give me just a moment, let's kind of see if there's any questions here. Let's see. And do I have a website? Yes, I do have a website. jklworks.com is and we're just finishing up a few things on it. For the webinars, you're going to see those everywhere that I'm permitted to post them. So you'll start to see those over time. They are some fantastic information that I don't talk about in the lives. Just to give you an idea, the one of the first ones we're going to do and we'll continue to do over time is everything you've ever learned about marketing and business growth is wrong. Oh, so you got to see what that's about. But they will all be free. They will all be free to attend. Of course, there is an offer that goes along with that. And you know what that offer is. It's the Success Academy, which is very affordable for what you get. And will teach you everything you need to know about your business. And then when you're really ready for the big stuff, then that's where the success blueprinting process comes in. And that's where we really take it from there. Because then I talk about finding $50,000. It's really more like $100,000, and it actually ends up being more than that, because all along the way, all along the journey, I'm finding more stuff. We're diving deeper as we work together and get to know each other. that we want to be your coach for this. We want to be your confidant, that hey, I'm thinking about this joint venture. I'm thinking about doing this thing. Here's a gap that we know you have over here that an alliance could fix, or a collaboration could fix, really. And here's great alliance resources that you can go to find that. So that we talk about up to, like, if you really want to go deep, we talk about up to 40 different ways that we could significantly impact your business by making small changes. It's nothing earth shattering. It is 3 to 5% changes, but a funny thing ends up happening that maybe we'll talk about at some point is the idea of compounding impacts. You put more than a couple together and the math doesn't work out right, but it actually works very much in your favor. It goes much higher, much faster than the math says it's supposed to. And that's the law of compounding impacts. It's kind of like compounding interest that way. So, all right, everybody. Appreciate you guys watching. We're here most Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, or catch us just about any place. And then we're getting some more videos on there as well. So I appreciate your time and your attention and everything happening. If I can answer any questions, send me, you drop a line at info@jklworks.com, or a DM if you're on Facebook. I'm pretty much around and not that hard to find, or just put comment under here and we'll do our best to answer questions for you in these groups. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you next time.